My name is Rassel Chisango. Thank you very much, Anthony. We are very excited to be here. I am from Relationships Australia, and I am the GHS community educator. That's my role. And I basically also just work representing our venue in the community. We do have a variety of other programs, one of which is the VCSS, which my colleague Aggy will share a bit about in a few moments. So we are very excited to be here at the Beenleigh District Not-for-Profit Virtual Conference. And I'm going to be talking about problem gambling and families in general. So in this presentation, I'm talking about what is problem gambling, help service, so giving general information and the key points, including the current statistics and identifying how to identify problem gamblers, the underlying factors, triggers and edges, as well as the effects, and how can people respond to these issues. So the Queensland State Government, the GHS or Gambling Help Service Program is a Queensland State government funded program whereby the focus is on prevention and early intervention using a harm minimization framework. And we also, from our venue at Logan Central, do offer free counseling and support service in relation to problem gambling. And also we, as part of the community education aspect, which I do mostly, we do offer free information and support for staff impacted by problem gambling or a patron's problem gambling behavior. So by this, I'm referring to the venues. So where you have the pokies, etc., the industry, the gaming industry in general. And we do have a very collaborative approach with RIQ GHS stakeholders, including community, government, and the gambling industry. So just to give a quick example, we do have an upcoming Gambling Help Service Financial Wellbeing Expo that we, which is a very collaborative initiative where we're working with the Financial Literacy Action Group, which we're a part of, and various other members of that group, and also in principle with the Logan City Council. So we plan to hold that on the 29th to the 31st of October at the Hyperdome. So watch this space for more details. So here, what this is about is basically just giving you an idea of the expenditure in regards to gambling. These details are up to, or as at 31 December 2019. So all forms of gambling are expressed here. So like it says, the following information is a comparison of financial year to date up to the 31st of December 2019. Data for all gambling streams in Queensland. So the first column there, we see we've got different streams of gambling, which is EGMs, electronic gaming machines. So those EGMs in clubs and hotels, EGMs in casinos, casino table games, keno, wagering, lotteries. And so if you go to the second column, you have July 2018 to December 2018. So for comparison purposes, the next column gives us the details for July 2019 to December 2019. So as you can see, for example, I won't do touch on everything. This is just to give you a sense of, what is the spend on gambling, for example. So with EGMs in 2018 for that period, we had almost $1.3 billion spent, and then just over $1.3 billion spent. So an increase of about 3.4% during that period. And then with EGMs in casinos, we had almost 180 million spent. And then there's also an upward trend there of about 6.6% in 2019 during the same period. And then with casino table games, we see that 316 million and a sharp decline of about 40.5% during the same period. And then Keno casinos, the numbers are almost the same, just a difference of about minus 1.6%. And then wagering, about a difference of about minus 1.8%. So it sort of like gives you the numbers if you're not, familiar with the space. So this is what is sort of spent. And so the totals are at the bottom there. During the same period, this is not a full year, this is about a 6-month period review. So you have about $2.2 billion, and in 2019 same period it's $2.214 billion, which is a minus 1.8% decrease in spend on gambling. That's basically a graphical presentation of what I've just been speaking about. Now, I don't know if I have an opportunity to sort of like just play a little bit of a game with you, Stephanie and Anthony. Maybe you can assist me, but I cannot see the chart. But basically, this is supposed to help us gauge, your perception. So it's a what are the odds game, where we want to have your current perception. I'm going to give you the answers, but what are your chances of winning Powerball Division 1, for example? How does that compare to dating a supermodel and winning major prize in poker machine, winning an Olympic medal in a lifetime? Or what are the chances of marrying a millionaire in a lifetime as well? So this just helps to give, the real facts in terms of the odds when people are playing. A lot of the times people play to chase some wins, etc., which is, some of the reasons why we end up having problem gambling. So this information just helps in raising awareness that the chances are really slim. So as you can see there, winning Powerball Division 1 in 76 million. That's a chance of 1 in 76 million. You are better off chasing a supermodel because that's like 1 in 88,000 chances. It's a little bit better. And then winning a major prize on poker machines, playing maximum lines, that's 1 in 7 million. That's really hard. And then you are better off probably getting ready, getting into shape, and chasing an Olympic medal at the Tokyo Games coming up. And picking trifecta in a 13-horse race, that's 1 in 1,716. What are your chances of marrying a millionaire? 1 in 215. Far much better spending time doing that if you're gonna do it. So I've got a little bit of a quick video. I hope there won't be any tech dramas here. So thinking of winning the lottery, the odds don't look good. So this is a reference material, ABC News, September 18, 2019. So I'll play that for you.
The odds of winning the main prize on Thursday are eye-watering. Basically, 1 in 134,490,400.
Which is 28 factorial times 7 factorial.
Statistician Dr. Nicola Armstrong is used to dealing with big numbers, but even she needs a real-world example. She says, imagine if there were 4 rows of lottery tickets laid out end to end between Perth and Melbourne.
And the chance of you winning the Powerball on Thursday night is the same chance as if you would actually manage to randomly pick the winning lotto ticket from those 4 rows that are laid out on the road.
So how would you like your chances?
Very small.
Even so, there's still plenty willing to try. Newsagents are predicting a rush on tickets, with thousands being sold every minute up to the draw.
It is uncharted territory because we've never had 150 million before, but last financial year we had 2 jackpots over 100 million and our annual sales were increased by about 15%.
No luck this time. But if I had won Division 1, there'd be no bells and whistles from this machine. The staff would take me quietly to an office and tell me privately that I'm a winner. Financial planner David Sharp advises holding on to that privacy if you have a financial windfall and keeping the news to a small circle.
When you do tell people, keep it pretty tight. Money might not change you, but it certainly can change the relationship you have with others.
He also advises taking time with major decisions like quitting a job and avoiding a few of the common mistakes.
One is they go and spend it on extravagant or exorbitant expenses, race cars and boats and the like. And the second is they get involved with investments they don't understand, and they can quickly turn millions of dollars into zero.
But given the odds, it's a problem very few are likely to face.
So yeah, I just wanted to give, a real life sort of experience of what are the odds, and, as we saw in that clip. So now moving on to, just a quick definition there. Problem gambling is characterized by difficulties in limiting money and or time spent on gambling, which leads to adverse consequences for the gambler, others, or for the community. And I want to give you, these are some of the numbers that we have. So 23,986 Queenslanders experience problem gambling, or that's about 0.51%. 301,000 experience low risk gambling, which is about 6.4%. So they're within the risk group, at risk group. And then you do have 117,000 experiencing moderate risk, which is about 2.59%. And be that as it may, for every one person who experiences problem gambling, up to 10 others are impacted. So if we do a simple math, 300 plus 117 plus 23, that comes to close to 500,000, roughly rounded off. So by 10, you can see the numbers there that it increases exponentially in terms of the people that are affected by problem gambling, as well as the concern that is there, which is why we do what we do, like the Gambling Help Service, community education and counseling, is we're trying to help those at risk really not get into the problem gambling zone. In the end, 1 in 5 for family members, friends, employees, or colleagues may be impacted. And this is coming from the Queensland Household Gambling Survey of 2016-2017. And the the Productivity Commission 2010 report. I'm not going to play this video. I want to come to this point where we talk about why do people gamble, for example. Various reasons, ranging from boredom, financial hardship, and some are looking for entertainment, and there's escapism as well. Belief in luck, like I was talking about, chasing wins, etc. Socializing for some, people argue, I'm holding a coaster here that you will not be able to see, but you might like what it says. It says there are 2 ants and they are climbing up a wall. Bet someone turns this coaster over. Bet you are right. So I'll start again. The first ant says, bet someone turns this coaster over. And then the other one says, bet you are right. And the explanation there says that Aussies will bet on anything, even 2 ants climbing up a wall. Any wonder some of us can get in over our head. So advice is available, it's free and confidential. So that's the sort of thing that which we do to try and also help with the myths and misconceptions that are surrounding gambling. Problem gambling can exist with other types and levels of harm. Problem gamblers exhibit a greater likelihood of engaging in other health compromising behaviors. 30 to 60% substance dependence or abuse, 30 to 70% nicotine dependence, 10 to 40% major depression, and 20 to 60% anxiety disorders. So like we said, beyond community education, RIQ's GHS counseling offers a listening ear, self-reflection, client support, referral pathways to gambling helpline, super important, as well as the gambling help online and related RIQ support services. And these are some of the benefits of counseling, for example, enhancing motivation and increase in self-efficacy, emotional management, assistance with self-exclusion, which is very important. So if somebody finds that they're having, problem gambling issues, or there are signs of problem gambling, one of the best ways, which are usually taken up, is self-exclusion from certain venues or from the gaming area at a casino or at a gaming venue. So yeah, for purpose of time, because I've got my colleague who is also coming in with the presentation, I will stop here. I've come to the end. Are there any questions before I hand over to my colleague? Just really to introduce, it won't be an exhaustive presentation from Aggy, but just for her to be able to introduce what the VCSS is. Thank you very much. Anthony, should I continue?
That's great, Rassel. Yeah, we've had no questions come through the Q&A so far. So yeah, if you want Aggy to continue, that'd be good.
So welcome to VCSS, which stands for Victims and Counselling and Support Services. So we are based in Logan Central on Wembley Road. For the district people, you'll be aware, of the shopping centre there, Logan Plaza. We're just in the next lot, next to the Shine Lawyers and formerly Cameron Dick's office. VCSS is a program of supporting victims, as the name suggests. And this covers primary victims, so people who were affected by act of crime, but also their families as a secondary victims or witnesses to a crime. Most of us are aware of what counselling is, and it can cover a lot of different emotional and psychological distresses to do with finances, relationships, which is the main conception about Relationships Australia, that we only deal with relationships, but there is so much more that we cover. So victims counselling and support services is one of extra. So like I mentioned, we're not just relationship counselling service, we also have other services. I'll speak to VCSS, I'm aware of limited time. So yes, the good news about our service is that it's free of charge, because a lot of people struggle, but going to therapy or, to psychologists, paid psychologists, can be out of pocket, quite significant expense. So we provide free of charge. We used to be unlimited service, but unfortunately the funding has been limited. So as of now, we can provide 10 sessions with the option for review for another 10, maximum of 20 sessions, which is still relatively good in comparison to other services. Okay, so the number there, the 1300 number, is actually 24 hours a day. It's not counseling line or crisis line, but it is an information service and also booking system. So if you call because you've been referred by police, or you found us on the website, or someone told you about us, you can call and they will be able to assess whether you are eligible for the service. There is few criteria, or they can link you with another service with Relationships Australia. So one of the major eligibilities to be eligible for victim support service and counselling, you have to be Queensland resident. You have to obviously, unfortunately, join the club of people who were affected by crime. So when we watch the news and we hear the news of something happening and we go, oh my goodness, these poor people, sometimes, we become these poor people. And this is the service that can definitely help. It doesn't have to be so hard. It always helps to have a chat with someone. Not always, we're all different, but from my experience, I had people who were sent by partners or someone, and then they actually did say it is quite helpful. It doesn't mean you have to stay in the therapy and be in it for 20 sessions. Sometimes what it simply means is we're normalizing what is happening. We offer a little bit of psychoeducation, knowledge about how the brain is construed and why you have these responses, normalizing that, no, you're not going crazy. You are having normal responses to abnormal situations that should have not happened. So there is the eligibility. Thank you, Rassel. primary victim, as I mentioned before, and it can also be a historical crime. So say if you have experienced some childhood traumas and you've been traveling okay, or you've learned to manage it, but then there is something relatively small in comparison. Maybe you've been just verbally abused by someone, and that might trigger some past trauma. So sometimes people come to us with something recently happening and they've been referred by police, and they come in because they're distressed and the family can see that something is going on. But a lot of times we actually deal with some past traumas, which is also a great opportunity to check in. How am I traveling? What are my coping mechanisms? Have I dealt with the past? And by dealing with the past, I don't mean that we have to always dig in and look in the past, because sometimes some things are better left unearthed because we manage fine. And obviously we all are different and everybody's individual, so we don't have templates that say with assaults or with robbery or attack or something, we have template and we apply it and we go A plus B and arrive at Z and it's all fixed. I wish I had that, but unfortunately that's not possible because we are all individuals. We all have different experiences and different support networks and different ability to manage things. So it's very much an individual process. So service delivery is via face-to-face, telephone, or web-based. In the pandemic, obviously, we were only remote. We're coming back now to face-to-face and remote after the latest lockdown cases, but we are pretty much back in full operation. So we can do assistance with the victim impact statements. A lot of people are not aware of it unless they become victims. So you do police report, which is a factual representation of what has happened, what took place, who did what, and at what time and what date. Whereas victim impact statement is the intangible, the unseen acts of the crime. So that would be the emotional effects, the sometimes physical, when we have been hurt physically and we're not showing it to the whole world, but we suffer for it. There is pain. There will be emotional suffering. There will be some cognitive, possibly stuff happening and wondering forever, why me? So there is a lot of impacts on the victim of crime that unless you've been through it, you wouldn't have any idea. So the victim impact statement helps in the court proceedings when the perpetrator has been charged to help the judge pretty much make the sense of it, how deep the impact was on the victim. And it can also be very healing for the victim themselves to be able to verbalize it. It's usually a written document and signed and submitted to court, and we can help with that. So the next one, victim advocacy and all that, is also through conferences. So a lot of our clients are actually police referred. So when there is crime and police is called and they do the report, they usually leave to the victims our number and send the report to us. And our call center, the 1300 number, will then contact the person and check whether they still are open to receive support, because sometimes people feel like they have enough support and they don't need it. The service is very busy and we go through phases. So through the pandemic, we were extremely busy because it was extra added stress for all families and individuals. So sometimes if you call up, if we contact you, something happened to you, we might be able to see you or provide telephone counseling within a few weeks, but other times it can be up to 2 months even. So it all depends. We are based in Logan, but we also have offices throughout Queensland as well. So usually, if someone prefers face-to-face, it makes sense to book them in the local service. If they only require, web chat or telephone, then they can talk to any counsellor who is first available if there is urgency. So there is a bit of flexibility there. So we can move on, Rassel. So these are just some of the things what victims can experience when something happens. A lot of times it's the shock of unexpected something that happened, because we don't expect things to go wrong, whether it's at home, an invasion, or we are out in the public and we are attacked, or at workplace, we just simply don't expect anything to go wrong. So these are just some of the things. There is so much more, and as I mentioned before, it's very individual. For someone, say they will come because they have experienced a road rage, and for someone it might be such a life-changing event that they will be immobilized and would have to stop working and really work hard to regain some quality of life. For others, they've been through some other traumas, and that might be relatively small incident that is not requiring counseling. So you see, we're all different. Yeah. So a little bit about trauma, it's such a popular word these days, I believe. But really what it means, it's something that is absolutely out of our norm of coping with it. And then we might go into flight or freeze, as you probably have heard. These are the automatic responses to something shocking and unexpected. And then with single trauma, we might bounce back relatively quickly. So few sessions might help the client to realize, hey, life is full of challenges. This has been one of those challenges, but I am relatively okay, and I can normalize it and move through it, face my emotions, deal with it, process it. And again, that looks very differently for different individuals, but then I'm relatively okay and I'm moving on. For others, that one's trauma might bring up other traumas, which is complex trauma, multiple events, multiple heavy losses in life, or maybe events that happened in childhood when we were not fully developed yet and we were not equipped. We didn't have the capacity to deal with it. So everyone is different. Re-traumatization, again, this is not a must, but it might happen. And also for us counselors, we can experience something called vicarious trauma, which is by listening to those stories, quite shocking and quite gruesome sometimes. We do have the abilities, I think, to deal with those things, but it is something that can happen to us as well. So we have to take self-care, and self-care is important to all of us. So here's some symptoms of trauma. Again, not exhausted list of all the things, but these are just the major things. And if you look at sadness, that's part of life, everyday life. We get sad. We see, an animal killed on the road, that will bring great sadness to someone, but to others might be different triggers. So also speaking, I would like to speak to mental health, because a lot of people think mental health is, this is something needs to be really seriously wrong with me, and I might need to have some diagnosis of mental illnesses. It's not that. We all need to tend to our mental health. And mental health is simply noticing when something is off, when something is a little different, when we are not being ourselves, when we are not interacting with others in the same way as used to, or when we not get joy or pleasure from things that normally make us happy. So again, it's just about realizing that we are complex beings and we have emotions and responses, somatic nervous system responses, that they are so much easier to manage and understand when there is someone with us. And another thing I would like to say that before moving on, that not taking away from victims of natural disasters, because the flooding and the bushfires that we've had earlier on this year, they were devastating and life-changing for people, creating massive trauma and losses and leaving great impact for years to come, or even generations to come. However, from strictly trauma and counseling perspective, I do notice from my experience that when there is a person behind the crime that hurt us, it makes it so much harder to bounce back from it, because there is clearly an intent of another person to hurt us. And that's what people struggle with. How could that someone think and plan, or, act on opportunity to hurt us? So on the flip side of the coin, the same goes for healing. We heal, we can do it alone, but it's a very, very hard way. It's much easier when there is someone present with us. So moving on, what happens when we become victims of crime? We deal with it as we can. Initial shock can last few weeks. And generally we bounce back because, like everything in our body, we have the ability to heal and bounce back and revive. But a lot of times, particularly if we had other difficult circumstances and events in our lives, the nervous system will be compromised, and then it might take us a little bit longer. So if a person has a simple trauma or simple incident happening, however awful and tragic at the time, when they get the help relatively quick, that can often ensure that, yes, there will be post-traumatic stress, but chances are if we capture that, we will not develop post-traumatic stress disorder because we're dealing with it. We're not adopting more adaptive strategies, or we're not avoiding it, or we're becoming antisocial. All very natural responses when we hurt. So for that reason, I also advocate for at least checking in with counsellor and checking, hey, this is what I'm observing. Is this normal? What's going on? And a lot of times, most of the time, it is normal. It's normal response to a normal situation. So we are funded by fundamental principle of justice for victim. So we can Google that, I guess, because I'm acutely aware of the time. But yeah, like most services, we are private and confidential, and we have policies about our delivery. So we usually offer to clients upon first session, the intake session, we offer something we call information welcome pack, which outlines the MIND policies of confidentiality, client charter, complaints and compliments as well, feedback, any feedback. We also ask that of clients when they're exiting the service, so we can ensure continuously improving the quality of our service. Okay, so Rassel, moving on. Yeah, I spoke to that. Not all people will react the same, and there is some references. So I did rush a little bit, but I hope that, you know, for someone who never heard of our service, they got some brief idea that we are available, we're free of charge, and there is some eligibility, but we are there in Logan. I'm open to any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you to both of you. Much appreciated. We haven't had any questions come through yet, but I'll say that I, based in Beenleigh, wasn't aware. I was aware of Relationships Australia, obviously, but I wasn't aware of the services you offer, and was quite impressed, and will be referring people at our service when relevant. With regard to Rassel's part of the presentation, I particularly liked the comparisons with the odds. That was that was really good. So who would have thought you'd have more chance of marrying a millionaire than winning the top prize at the pokies? But yeah, that really puts it into perspective. And with regards to your presentation, Aggy, I wouldn't have known the first place to refer to a victim of crime to. I probably would have spoken with the police and gone from there and got a referral. But I'm really glad to have that information. So thank you to you both.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say thank you so much for having us. We have enjoyed. I think this is quite an innovative way of engaging, and thank you for making us part of the program.
No, thank you. Much appreciated. And thank you to Aggy.
Come along one day just for pop in for a cuppa, and then we can meet in person and talk some more about the program possibly.
That sounds great. Thank you.
And just in conclusion, we'll definitely keep in touch, you know, from Beenleigh, because we do serve directly the Beenleigh community. So through your BDCDA, we'll keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you to you both. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.